Tomorrow will bring the most dangerous major winter storm to hit the East Coast since historic Winter Storm Fern devastated the region. A rapidly developing coastal storm system is organizing off the Carolina coast tonight, positioning itself to deliver a catastrophic blow to millions of Americans along the Eastern Seaboard throughout the weekend. This is not just another winter weather event following the recent Arctic blast. This represents a meteorological perfect storm that combines the lingering effects of extreme cold with a potent low-pressure system capable of producing historic snowfall-damaging winds and life-threatening coastal flooding across one of the most densely populated corridors in the United States. The atmospheric setup driving tomorrow's storm development represents a textbook example of what meteorologists call explosive cyclogenesis, more commonly known as bombogenesis, a process that occurs when a storm's central pressure drops 24 millibars or more within a 24-hour period. When a storm system undergoes this rapid intensification process while moving along the heavily populated Interstate 95 corridor, the results can be both spectacular and devastating for the tens of millions of people who call this region home, creating conditions that can transition from light snow to blizzard-level impacts within just a few hours. The meteorological mechanics behind this rapid intensification involve complex interactions between upper-level atmospheric dynamics and surface-based temperature contrasts that create what scientists describe as a meteorological bomb, a weather system that explodes in intensity as it taps into multiple energy sources simultaneously. Current atmospheric soundings and satellite imagery reveal that all the necessary ingredients for explosive development are falling into place along the East Coast, including strong upper-level divergence, robust moisture transport from the Atlantic Ocean, and a sharp thermal boundary between Arctic air and oceanic warmth. Understanding the magnitude of what begins tomorrow requires examining the complex meteorological ingredients that are converging along the East Coast over the next 48 hours. Current weather models are indicating that this storm system will tap into multiple sources of energy and moisture, creating a weather machine capable of producing snowfall rates that could exceed 2 to 3 inches per hour across the most heavily impacted areas. The storm's origins can be traced to a weak disturbance currently moving through the Gulf of Mexico, drawing moisture from the abnormally warm waters that have been supercharged by recent weather patterns. But its true power will be unleashed when this system encounters the sharp temperature contrast between the lingering Arctic air mass from this week's extreme cold outbreak and the relatively warm waters of the Gulf Stream just offshore. This temperature differential creates an atmospheric battleground where enormous amounts of energy can be released in a very short period of time, with the potential to generate storm systems that rival tropical hurricanes in their intensity and destructive capability. The Gulf Stream's role in this developing storm cannot be overstated, as this river of warm water flowing northward along the Atlantic coast provides both the thermal energy and moisture necessary for explosive storm development. Sea surface temperatures along the Gulf Stream are currently running 15 to 20 degrees above the long-term average for late January, creating an atmospheric heat source that can fuel rapid intensification once the developing storm system moves over these waters tomorrow night. Forecast models are showing remarkable agreement on the storm's general track and timing, with development beginning in earnest late tomorrow night as the system moves northward along the coast. By Saturday morning, what starts as a relatively modest disturbance will have transformed into a powerful nor'easter with the potential to rank among the most significant winter storms to impact the region in recent years. The timeline for tomorrow's storm development is becoming increasingly clear as meteorologists analyze the latest high-resolution computer model data from multiple forecasting systems, including the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts, the Global Forecast System, and the North American Mesoscale model. Light snow will begin falling across the Carolinas during the late evening hours of Friday, marking the beginning of what could be a multi-day winter weather event that affects everything from travel and commerce to emergency services and power infrastructure across the Eastern Seaboard. Initial snowfall rates will be relatively modest, perhaps 1/4 to 1/2 inch per hour, but these rates will increase dramatically as the storm intensifies throughout the overnight hours. By 3 or 4 o'clock Saturday morning, snowfall rates across portions of eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia could reach 1 to 2 inches per hour, creating conditions where road crews struggle to keep pace with accumulating snow despite continuous plowing operations. By midnight tomorrow night, steady snow will be falling across much of eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, including the Hampton Roads metropolitan area and the Chesapeake Bay region. The storm's initial impacts will be felt most strongly in areas that are still recovering from the infrastructure damage and power outages caused by Winter Storm Fern just days ago, creating a compounding effect that could significantly worsen the overall impact of this new weather system. Emergency managers across these regions are particularly concerned about the cumulative stress on power grids, transportation networks, and emergency response capabilities that are still stretched thin from recent weather events. Road surface temperatures will play a critical role in determining how quickly snow accumulates during the storm's early hours, with pavement temperatures currently hovering right at the freezing point across much of the impact zone. This marginal thermal environment means that even light snowfall could quickly create hazardous driving conditions as surface temperatures drop throughout the night, transforming wet roads into skating rinks within minutes of the snow's arrival. Saturday morning will bring the storm's most intense phase as the rapidly strengthening low-pressure system moves parallel to the coast, positioning itself in the optimal location to tap into Atlantic moisture while maintaining access to the cold air necessary for heavy snow production. Cities from Norfolk and Virginia Beach northward through Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York will experience deteriorating conditions throughout the morning hours. The snow intensity will reach its peak during Saturday afternoon and evening, with many locations along the Interstate 95 corridor experiencing blizzard conditions characterized by heavy snow, strong winds, and near-zero visibility. These conditions will make travel not just difficult but extremely dangerous, as even experienced winter drivers struggle to navigate roads that become impassable within hours. But the true power of tomorrow's storm will become apparent Saturday night, when the system reaches its maximum intensity while positioned directly offshore from the major metropolitan areas of the mid-Atlantic and southern New England. Wind speeds associated with this storm could reach 60 to 80 miles per hour along the immediate coastline. The geographic scope of tomorrow's storm encompasses an area home to more than 50 million Americans, stretching from the Outer Banks of North Carolina northward through Boston, and potentially extending into northern New England depending on the storm's exact track. This represents one of the largest winter storm footprints to affect the Eastern Seaboard in decades. The Carolinas will experience the storm's initial fury, with the mountains of western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina potentially receiving 12 to 24 inches of snow as the system taps into upslope flow patterns. Cities like Asheville, Charlotte, and Raleigh could see significant accumulations that bring travel to a complete standstill. Virginia will face particularly challenging conditions as the storm intensifies while moving along the coast, with the greatest impacts expected across the Tidewater region, including Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and the Chesapeake Bay area. These locations could receive 8 to 16 inches of snow accompanied by winds strong enough to create whiteout conditions. The nation's capital region, still reeling from the impacts of recent winter weather, faces the prospect of another major storm that could deliver 12 to 20 inches of snow to the Washington-Baltimore metropolitan area. The combination of heavy snow and strong winds will create extremely dangerous travel conditions on major highways. Philadelphia and southern New Jersey represent the potential bullseye for tomorrow's storm, with atmospheric dynamics favoring the development of a precipitation maximum that could produce 2 to 3 feet of snow across portions of the Delaware Valley. The city of Philadelphia itself could experience its heaviest snowfall in years. New York City and Long Island face significant uncertainty regarding the storm's ultimate impact, with small changes in the storm track potentially meaning the difference between a manageable snowfall and a crippling blizzard. Current projections suggest the metropolitan area could receive anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet of snow. The storm's intensity will be enhanced by a meteorological process known as cold air damming, where dense, frigid air becomes trapped against the Appalachian Mountains, creating a sharp temperature gradient that helps focus and intensify the storm's precipitation. This process can create remarkably sharp cutoffs in snow accumulation. Wind will be a major concern throughout the storm's duration, with sustained speeds of 30 to 50 miles per hour expected along much of the coast, and gusts potentially reaching 70 to 80 miles per hour in the most exposed locations. These winds will combine with the heavy snow to create blizzard conditions that reduce visibility to near zero. The coastal flooding threat associated with tomorrow's storm cannot be understated, as powerful winds will drive storm surge into bays, estuaries, and low-lying coastal areas from the Outer Banks northward through Cape Cod. Areas that experienced significant flooding during recent storms may face renewed inundation. Power outages represent one of the most serious threats posed by tomorrow's storm, as the combination of heavy wet snow and strong winds creates ideal conditions for downed trees and power lines. Utility companies across the region are already positioning crews and equipment in preparation for widespread outages that could affect millions of customers. The storm's impact on transportation systems will be both immediate and long-lasting, with major airports from Charlotte northward through Boston likely to experience significant flight delays and cancellations beginning Friday evening. Amtrak service along the heavily traveled Northeast corridor could face suspensions, while highway travel becomes increasingly dangerous. The timing of tomorrow's storm creates additional challenges for emergency management officials, as the weekend timing means that many government offices and emergency services will be operating with reduced staffing levels just as conditions deteriorate. Schools and businesses that might normally serve as warming centers may be closed. Emergency management agencies across the potential impact zone are implementing winter storm protocols and urging residents to complete all necessary preparations before conditions deteriorate Friday evening. This includes stocking up on essential supplies, checking heating systems and backup power sources, and avoiding unnecessary travel. The economic implications of tomorrow's storm extend far beyond the immediate costs of snow removal and emergency response, as businesses across the region prepare for potential closures that could last several days in the hardest hit areas. Retail establishments, restaurants, and service industries face the prospect of lost revenue during what is normally a busy weekend period. Healthcare systems across the region are taking steps to ensure continuity of care during the storm, with hospitals implementing protocols to maintain adequate staffing levels, and emergency departments preparing for an influx of weather-related injuries, including heart attacks from snow shoveling and slip and fall injuries. The psychological impact of another major winter storm so soon after winter storm Fern and this week as Arctic blast should not be underestimated, as residents across the region struggle with weather fatigue and cumulative stress. Mental health resources are preparing for increased demand as people cope with isolation, property damage, and the uncertainty involved. Agricultural interests across the region face additional challenges from tomorrow's storm, particularly livestock operations that are still recovering from recent extreme cold. The combination of heavy snow and strong winds will require farmers and ranchers to take extraordinary measures to protect animals and maintain access to feed and water supplies during what could be an extended period of dangerous conditions. The scientific community will be closely monitoring tomorrow's storm as an example of how climate change may be affecting the behavior of major winter weather systems. While individual storms cannot be directly attributed to climate change, the increasing frequency of rapid intensification events and the tendency for storms to produce more extreme precipitation rates are consistent with what climate models predict for a warming world. Technology and communication systems face their own set of challenges during major winter storms, as heavy snow can interfere with satellite signals while strong winds threaten cell towers and other infrastructure. Emergency managers are preparing backup communication systems to ensure that weather warnings and emergency information can still reach the public, even if primary communication networks experience disruptions. The storm's impact on energy systems extends beyond simple power outages, as natural gas demand surges during extreme cold while electrical generation faces challenges from both equipment failures and fuel supply disruptions. Regional grid operators are coordinating with utility companies to ensure adequate power generation capacity remains available even as transmission systems face stress from wind and ice loading. Environmental concerns associated with tomorrow's storm include the potential for coastal erosion, as powerful waves and storm surge batter shorelines already weakened by recent storms. Beach communities from the Outer Banks northward through New England face the prospect of significant property damage, as sand dunes and protective barriers are undermined by the combination of high winds and elevated water levels. Yet perhaps the most remarkable aspect of tomorrow's storm is how quickly it will develop from a relatively minor disturbance into a major weather system capable of affecting tens of millions of people. This rapid intensification process demonstrates the incredible power that can be unleashed when atmospheric conditions align perfectly, creating weather events that can reshape landscapes and communities in just a matter of hours. The forecast models handling tomorrow's storm represent some of the most sophisticated weather prediction technology available, incorporating data from weather satellites, radar systems, weather balloons, and automated surface stations to create a three-dimensional picture of the atmosphere. Despite these advanced tools, storm forecasting remains an inherently uncertain science, particularly when dealing with rapidly developing systems that can change course or intensity with little warning. Residents across the potential impact zone are urged to take tomorrow's storm seriously and avoid the temptation to wait until the last minute to make preparations. History has shown that when major winter storms develop as quickly as tomorrow's system is forecast to intensify, conditions can deteriorate much faster than people expect, leaving those who delay their preparations in dangerous and potentially life-threatening situations. Tomorrow's storm represents more than just a weather event to endure. It serves as a reminder of nature as awesome power and the importance of community resilience in the face of extreme weather. The coming days will test not only the physical infrastructure of the Eastern Seaboard, but also the social bonds and mutual support systems that help communities recover and rebuild after major disasters. The next 72 hours will determine whether tomorrow's storm becomes a manageable inconvenience or a historic disaster, depending largely on how well prepared individuals, families, and communities are for the extreme conditions that begin tomorrow evening. While modern forecasting technology provides unprecedented advance warning, the ultimate impact will depend on the collective response of millions of people who call the East Coast home. Tomorrow's weekend storm marks what could be the most significant winter weather challenge of the season for the eastern United States. As a rapidly intensifying coastal system prepares to deliver potentially historic snow accumulations, damaging winds, and dangerous coastal flooding to one of the most populated regions of the country.